Hello and welcome to this week's Hippie Hyena. Now those of you who've followed my channel thus far, which let's face it isn't many, will know how I feel about J.K. Rowling. She's a deeply unpleasant person with absolutely appalling views on nearly everything, and is entirely deserving of the current backlash that she's receiving. But what does professional Brie Larson botherer and human cat urine stain the quartering think about the turf queen of Twitter? Let's find out, shall we?
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and J.K. Rowling is up to it again. The woman can't win. Every time she opens her mouth, she's angering lots of people. And I'm not exactly sure how we got here, but I think it's at least partly because of the company she keeps.
If by the company she keeps, you mean the other horrible TERFs, various transphobes and bigots that she seems to have embedded herself with recently, then yeah, it could be. I mean, I hope you're talking about those, Jeremy.
The pandering that you do, on Twitter in particular, works really well. You pander, you get woke, you say all the right things, people follow you, people praise you. But these people aren't following you for you. They're following you because of confirmation bias, or you're saying things that they like. They don't actually like you. And what happens is you build a huge following like this, and then the second you say something they don't like, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. And immediately, hashtag RIP, J.K. Rowling is trending.
Now this is just a really, really bizarre take, and it's not one that I've heard isolated to Jeremy here. It's something I've heard other right-wing head cases say too. The basic idea of which is that when people say stuff that we like, we follow them and encourage them, and when they start saying stuff that we don't like, we stop doing those things. And it's sort of presented as if there's something kind of unusual or wrong with that. But I mean, it's just such a weird take because, I don't know J.K. Rowling in any real sense. I know her public persona. I know what she chooses to put out there. I've read Harry Potter. Quite liked Harry Potter. I've not liked her tweets. But I don't know some sort of essential J.K. Rowling essence. Nobody does, really, perhaps. Maybe she doesn't even. I mean, it's just such a sort of weird, nebulous concept. And when I say that I like someone, like, for example, I like left-wing YouTuber Vaush, does that mean I like some kind of essential essence of Vaushness? No, I like some of his opinions. They mesh with mine. And they make sense, and the ones that don't mesh with mine, I can at least respect. But if, tomorrow he came out calling for an ethno-state or something, there's no, weird loyalty I have to the essential Vaush that would tolerate that. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in my life that I wouldn't hesitate to cut out if they started espousing the things that J.K. Rowling has done. I might try and talk to them about it, but if it became clear that they were entrenched in their views as much as J.K. Rowling is entrenched seemingly in hers, I would have to say, I'm not interested in spending time with you until you've resolved those issues, if ever. Because I don't have some pure blind loyalty to human beings. I like people because what they say and do. To me, and I think to most rational, sane people, respect is earned. And just like it can be earned, it can also be lost. That's basically entirely on them.
Now, Pink News says, J.K. Rowling's latest book is about an evil cis man who dresses as a woman to end his victims. I can't believe the writer behind Cho Chang, the Irish wizard who loves to blow things up, and hook-nosed goblins who control wealth, has done this.
Now, what the tweet that Jeremy has just read does is basically kind of disprove his whole argument. If I was him, I would have left it out. You see, because what it's saying is that J.K. Rowling was never one of us. There's been some highly questionable stuff in Harry Potter, and her Twitter presence has been pretty much derided by any correct-thinking person since she got an account. I can only assume that he's thinking that the left will think she's one of us because of her talking about how Dumbledore was apparently gay. But you only have to look at what the left was saying about that. We all said it was disgusting liberal pandering. The left doesn't like J.K. Rowling, especially the left in England. Anybody that insults my boy Corbin is no friend of mine.
Don't forget the House of Elves, the happy slaves who just cook and clean for wizards. Imagine reading the headline and not being able to understand the blatant, obvious motive behind her writing. Now, if you haven't followed the J.K. Rowling saga, she's got a lot to say as a extraordinarily rich woman, and she's earned that money through her Harry Potter series, but has since fallen out of favor of many of the young kids that grew up loving her because they've turned into ultra-soft millennials.
Or is it because she's crapped on their childhood by poisoning the well of a beloved young adult fiction series by expressing incredibly unpleasant views and aligning herself with deeply unpleasant characters who support things like the JQ? You don't have to be a soft millennial to be pissed off about that. She's essentially robbed anyone's enjoyment of Harry Potter away from them, because now you publicly say you like Harry Potter, and rather than people imagining a whimsical world of wizards and schools and defeating fictional Nazis, what they imagine is rampant transphobia, turfism and Karens. And that's a camp nobody wants to sit in. And I mean, can the art be separated from the artist? It's an interesting discussion, one that Jeremy is probably ill-equipped to delve into in any depth. But I would argue that it's really upsetting that people have been put in the position where they're having to think, can they separate the art from the artist, when the art of Harry Potter is something which is close to a lot of people's hearts, and they associate it with their most innocent and optimistic time.
Now they want the woman who wrote their children's book to issue out life advice. And as it may turn out, J.K. Rowling, in some cases, actually prefers science to ideology.
No, she doesn't. That's pretty much specifically what she doesn't do specifically. She literally prefers ideology over the science. That's what transphobia is, really, isn't it? It's the flat earther of social issues.
And she has said some, in their opinions,
in everyone's opinion,
phobic things about the trans community. J.K. Rowling's latest book is about a evil cis man who dresses as a woman to end his victims. By the way, there are a lot of drag queens that are straight. So, of course, everyone just assumed that this is a commentary about transgender people.
I mean, I haven't read the book, but there is such a thing as context. When somebody who is a now notorious transphobe writes a book that apparently, self-admittedly, has a colossal transphobic trope as the main plot line in it, or even just a side plot would be bad, you'd kind of be stupid for assuming anything else, really. And to be fair, I've got absolutely no interest in reading anything more that beggar has to write about anything. But you know, this isn't like coming out of the blue. Like, for example, if I heard that Sargon of Akkad was gonna do a lecture on race and IQ, I think I'd be well within my rights to be assuming that he's not gonna be talking about the fact that IQ is nonsense and the way it's measured doesn't really say anything. I think I'd be well within my reasonable rights to consider that it's probably going to be quite a lot of racist bullshit. And you know, people like me aren't boycotting her because of this book. It's just that this book is yet another thing in the stream of reasons why we think we're probably justified in thinking that she's an horrible person to begin with. And you know, it's part of our freedom of speech, I would have thought, to be able to voice those opinions and say that we think she's awful. And also say R.I.P. in the sense that she's dead to us. But it seems what Jeremy is suggesting is that certain people should be beyond criticism. And to me, that's cancel culture.
What's interesting to me is J.K. Rowling, again, is put in this position. Like, why do you want, need, or care what celebrities say about your lifestyle?
Well, while I'm not trans myself, I think as a person who has a functioning mind and brain, I will be able to answer this. I'll take on that responsibility. For a start, the whole point of Twitter is that it's like an interaction between people. Some of those people happen to be celebrities. those people have a lot of clout, by which I mean when they say something, they've got lots of followers, so lots of people see it, so they're more likely to face people saying they disagree with them. And the more abhorrent and idiotic your view is, the higher the percentage of people you'll have amongst those people will have a problem with what you said. That's kind of how those things work. So in a way, if you kind of have a problem with that, you kind of really have a problem with the concept of Twitter, social media as a whole, probably YouTube, and it's sort of a bit weirdly hypocritical considering that your whole career is basically based around trying to become a person whose opinion matters and that people want to see. I mean, if you're not disseminating your opinion, Jeremy, you're just reading other people's articles. But the other reason, which perhaps is more important, is that the persecution and discrimination that trans people and other groups face is largely systemic, which is to say it's not necessarily attributable to any specific individuals, but is rather a part of the mainstream hegemony, the zeitgeist, as it were, of which celebrities are a contributing factor. And when they voice these abhorrent opinions and spread around venom and hatred, if it leads to just one incidence of transphobic discrimination, then it's probably worthy of criticism. And it's not like an organised thing. It's just that a lot of people have a problem with what she said. And she's got a megaphone on her voice because of her celebrity status, as pretty much all celebrities do. And that's why anyone cares, obviously.